So today we have the pleasure to talk with Oscar Dronjak, the guitar player and founding member of HammerFall. Hi, Oscar. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, very lovely weather here in Finland.
Yeah, same here actually.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
you're in Sweden at the moment, aren't?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really nice summer day today.
Okay, cool. So your 11th studio album Dominion is coming out soon, and I listened to the promo a couple of times, and I have to say that I think it's a very solid album. How would you describe the concept and the sound of the album to your fans?
It's not really a concept of anything other than we always try to make the best heavy metal album that we possibly can. And I think for this time, if you compare it to the last album, where the process of songwriting was really stressful. Whereas this time we had much more time on our hands. We started earlier. We changed the approach a little bit to the songwriting. Just try to give us time to put all the details in there that needs to be in there. I think that's a really important part of why this album sounds the way it does. And to me, right now, it's very difficult to talk about what does this album sound like, because it's so fresh still in my mind. But I have a feeling that this album will be remembered for a long time as one of the milestones of HammerFall. That's the way it feels right now.
Yeah, I understood that this time you also wrote some material on the road, and do you think that affected the outcome?
I definitely do, because that's something I've always said. I can never do that. That's impossible. It doesn't work for me to do it that way. But once I tried it, I realized that you get this adrenaline rush just from being on stage, and that lasts you for a couple of hours anyway, regardless of what you do after the show. So I tried to use that energy and that adrenaline just to create something, and I found it to be not always easy, but for the most part, really easy to get into the mode when you were already in playing mode on stage, performing mode. It was easy to go into the songwriting mode afterwards, and that's one of the things I didn't think would work, but it worked beyond my belief, beyond my wildest dreams. So I'm very happy with this.
Yeah, I was also very impressed by the artwork, and I think Hammerfall album covers have always been fascinating and cool, but I think this is one of your best so far. And was there a reason why you decided to work again with Sam Didier?
Well, the thing is, ever since he did the first album cover in 2002, he's been involved in one way or another in each album. But for the last two, obviously, he wasn't the album album artist. But he did do the singles for both Bushido and Hammer High. But this time we decided early on we're going to use him again, for the album art, because he works at Blizzard Entertainment in California, and we went to visit his workplace in I believe it was January of last year, and we had these, they have done so many games, and there's so much artwork and stuff on the walls everywhere. It was really cool to go inside and look at the different stuff that they had from, they've been doing games for 30 years or 30 plus years actually, I think. So we saw one of the one artwork that was hanging on the walls. Like I think Sam he said to us a little bit jokingly, haha, when we're gonna get the evil Hector or something like that, and both Joachim and I thought, yeah, wait a minute, that's not too bad, that's a pretty cool idea. So we sort of based the idea off of that artwork, but they're completely different, but still that was where the idea came from. And I think he thought it was really fun to do the album cover this time as well. And he actually did the We Make Sweden Rock single cover, and also he will do the next single cover as well, which is going to be Dominion, the title track. It's coming out in 2 weeks or something like that, or maybe 1 week. Yeah, next week. And he's done that one too. So he's done almost all of the artwork for this release, and I think that's the perfect fit. It's like this is the way it was meant to be.
Yeah, and you mentioned the first single, We Made Sweden Rock, that you have released and play live also, and I think it's a phenomenal tribute to the Swedish rock and metal scene. And can you tell us what inspired you guys to write this song about Swedish music.
Well, it was Joachim's idea. I think he outlined everything from the what the idea of the song would be to the video, how that was supposed to be, and I immediately jumped on it. I thought it was a great idea. I think this is something we could definitely do, and something that we could make worthy, basically, for both for HammerFall and both for the bands that we make tribute to. And the cool thing about the lyrics is that all of the lines in the song are references to either a song title or an album title, or just like a catchphrase or something that reminds you of that describes these artists that are in there. I believe that's 13 references to 13 bands, I think, in there. But for the video, obviously, 13 is not enough. So we decided to pull together as many photos of bands that we could. I'm not sure, we missed a couple, of course, but for the most part, these are all the great Swedish bands throughout the years. And together, we are the ones who make Sweden rock, all of us, because we all should be proud of what Sweden has become, what a powerful force Sweden has become in the metal music.
Yeah, let me adjust the volume a little bit while I'm talking, and I don't want to interrupt you. Yeah, so it's really amazing how a country like Sweden, like a relatively small country, keeps producing excellent bands, metal bands that achieve international recognition. What do you think is the keys to this success?
Well, I really have no idea why this happened, but I have a few ideas as to the things that has helped. One thing is we have a strong musical tradition in Sweden. We have had for the last probably 30, 40 years. Yeah, 40 years, I'd say, maybe even more than that. That comes from the government, both the city government and the national government. They encourage people to play music, which is always helpful to get the band started with, and just learn your instrument, whatever it may be. Doesn't have to be a rock band, or like drums or guitar or anything. It could be a trumpet or a saxophone or clarinet, whatever it is. People, they have been encouraging since we were small kids to play music, just to play music, and that's definitely one thing. But something I also think, I don't know why this is, but it seems to me like, and this is what I'm so proud of the Swedish bands for, not just for creating music and spreading the music worldwide, but for creating individuality in their bands. Because if you look at bands like Sabaton or HammerFall or At the Gates or Dark Nobility or In Flames or Meshuggah or Bagger Babies, so you have Evergrey, you have Hardcore Superstar, the list goes on and on. And all these bands have one thing in common, that they don't sound like one another. They sound completely unique, exactly like this band. And I don't know why that is, but that's something that's very important in this. This people have the individual spirit to create something that is their own and not that doesn't sound like anything else.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And while listening to the menu, I could distinguish a lot of influence from classic metal bands in your riffs, like even more than in previous records. I don't know if you agree with that. Was that a conscious thing, or is it something in your DNA that you do subconsciously, or?
Well, there are very few things that are a conscious decision. When it comes to songwriting with HammerFall, of course, I try to steer the album in a certain direction when it comes to, you can't have too many fast songs or too many slow songs, or like to get the diversity, the variety of the songs. But as far as like the what you're mentioning now, the riffs sounding more 80s metal, that's just a coincidence. That's just what happens when I, maybe because I was on tour and I was in a good mood, in a great place when I was writing a lot of the music. Maybe because I just listened to these bands, or maybe because, if I'm being honest, I think it's probably the first. I was in a good place when I was writing this music. I was very unstressed. I was just writing for fun, just writing because you love what you're doing. What Built to Last for the last couple of months was just a factory of music. You had to write songs, and then when that was done, you couldn't enjoy it at all. You just had to put it aside and go on to the next one. So we had a full album to record when the recording started. But for this one, we were all done with all the songs. I'd say a couple of months before the recording was supposed to start. So it was really stressless in that respect, and I could write songs based on what I was feeling, and that's always helpful. That's the way that's how I write my best music.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Jokin's voice is getting stronger than ever now. And even if you've been touring for over 20 years, and we've seen him running marathons while you're drinking beer on the side. And what about you? Like, what's your secret to stay fit and creative?
I don't know. I think it's because I started HammerFall. I formed the band in 1993 based on one thing. I wanted to play the music that I love. It's as simple as that, really. I've had the luxury and the opportunity to be able to play the music that I love, to have creative freedom for 22 years now, or even more if you count the one we wrote, "The Glory to the Brave." So for me, it's just I do what I love, and as long as I'm having as much fun as I am, and I love it as much as I do, I will always have that drive, to create new music.
Yeah, and Dominion is your second release with Napalm Records, but your back catalog is currently being reused by Nuclear Blast, and I wanted to know how involved you are in those reissues and that like back catalog material and.
So yeah, it's sometimes they don't ask us at all. They would just want to release. I just got a package from Nuclear Blast a couple of months ago with the first 5 albums re-released on vinyl, on the back on black vinyl. I think they call it the back in black, maybe. I didn't know about that. It was completely news to me. But when they do the 20th anniversary thing, which we have done on Glory to the Brave and on Legacy of Kings, and will do for Renegade next year, then we're heavily involved in everything, of course.
Yeah, so like you're not working very tightly with Nuclear Blast anymore. It's just for those special editions of old.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, they still have all of our back catalog still under contract. So, and I like the fact that they want to do something with it. They're creative in Nuclear Blast. It's something you can definitely say for them. They're really creative in finding new things to go. And I think the re-releases that we did on Glory and Legacy of Kings, those are. We tried to make them for the fans who have been fans, since the album came out or close to it. The people who were there, who supported us from the very beginning, and we tried to give them something extra special, not just here's another re-release, we remaster it and blah 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 whatever. We tried to put on stuff that they could not find anywhere else, that we had in our own archives, just to make it worthwhile for them to buy. And from our side, of course, a thank you to you guys for being such loyal fans over the years.
Yeah, that's great from a fan's perspective. Let's talk about the Dominion tour. You're currently playing some European summer festivals. Then you're heading to Colombia, touring North America with Sabaton, coming back to Europe, Central Europe. And is there any chance to see you in the rest of South America or Scandinavia anytime soon?
I'm 100% sure there will be back in South America, but not together with the Colombian dates. Those were isolated and also booked about a year ago, I think. It was really, really long time ago. So we just, those are a one-off thing. We will go back to South America for sure, most likely next fall or something. I have no idea when. We haven't started discussing it, but it will happen for sure. It's always happening. As far as Scandinavia goes, we have plans for early next year. The European tour is in February, so most likely it will happen in March or April. But that's where we are right now. We have plans and ideas, but nothing is confirmed or booked.
Yeah, and with 11 studio albums and so many classic songs, it must be really hard to build a set list nowadays, especially when you play a shorter set at a festival. What kind of criteria do you use to decide which songs to play live?
It depends on what festival it is. If it's a festival, let's say we played at Graspop, for example, in Belgium. We played only 45 minutes, and quite early in the day too. And in that case, we were figuring most of the people who are there haven't seen us before, or at least aren't as familiar with HammerFall as to go on every show that we do. So we decided on that we only played the important ones, so to speak. But when it comes to putting together a 90-minute set list for a headliner slot at a festival, it's totally different. Then we can have some fun with it as well and play around a little bit. But generally, we have like a set list for 90 minutes, and then whatever amount of time we have for each festival, we just scale it down. And you're right, it gets harder and harder and more difficult to choose. But but rather that than the other way around, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to ask you also, like back in 2014, you played Glory to the Brave in its entirety for the 25th anniversary of Wacken. Have you considered to do this again in the future with any other album?
No, not really. Back then, we came off a long layoff. We wanted to do something special for the Wacken show, of course, but also because we didn't have such a solid ground to stand on, having come off of that long break that we had. This was also before Revolution was released, so we couldn't play any songs from that album either. So that was why it was a bit special, that show. But as far as right now, we don't have any. The way I see it is, HammerFall has so much more to offer musically. I'm in such a good place songwriting-wise. We have a momentum that we want to keep going. And for us, it's about the future, not about the past. I mean, eventually, yeah, sure, we could do that. We could play Legacy of the Kings in its entirety, or whatever it is, But it would have to be for a very, very special thing, and it's not going to happen for a lot of years.
Yeah, and the current lineup has worked together for about 5 years, and if you don't count the drummer change, over 10 years.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that the mood in the band is currently better than ever. And can we consider this to be the definitive HammerFall lineup?
I think if you ask fans, they would say that the lineup that we had with Anders and Stefan and Magnus would be the classic lineup. But as far as the way HammerFall sounds, the way we are as a live band right now, I don't think any other incarnation of HammerFall can touch this. What we are right now is the very best live act of HammerFall that we've ever seen. And I think you're right. If we keep going like this for a while, this will be the definite lineup.
Yeah. A couple of questions about wrestling, if you're up for it.
Absolutely.
We know you're a big fan of pro wrestling, and we saw Eric Rowan wearing a HammerFall t-shirt in a WWE show in Stockholm last May.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you saw this, and do you think there's any connection between wrestling and your music?
I absolutely do. It's been a while since I got this question, but for sure I think there's a connection. Not least of which is performing live in front of fans and reacting and interacting with fans. I think that's really important, and as a good way of comparing the two things. Obviously, what they do is very, very physical. I guess we do a little bit of physicality too. It's quite taxing cardio-wise to run around on stage for 2 hours or whatever it is. But for sure there are similarities in that. Absolutely.
Yeah, but what was your reaction when you saw Eric? Like, did you know beforehand, or how did you react to that?
I was ecstatic. I immediately retweeted it and put it on Facebook and sent it to all my friends that I know that like wrestling, because I'm a big wrestling fan myself. So it was beautiful.
Yeah, we have a very special question from our editor, and he wanted me to ask you this. This is a bit weird. If you were a pro wrestler, you have to think this very thoroughly. What would be your stage name, your special move, and your entrance theme? Justify your answers if you can.
When I formed HammerFall and in the 90s, I was thinking about this a lot. I was playing in a fantasy wrestling league. This was probably 94 maybe, or 95 or something like that. And then my wrestler's name was Chains, because I was wearing chains and I liked it. On stage, on my stage clothes. And my finishing move was, one of them was the HammerFall, which was a fireman's carry from the second rope into a pinning combination, I think. And I also had another one, which was the Raw Ride Spin, which if you follow wrestling nowadays or WWE nowadays, that's the finishing move of Cesaro, has been for quite a few years. But this, like I said, this was in the middle of the 90s or early 90s even. But the Raw Ride spin obviously came from Running Wild's Raw Ride, the song. So yes, there are. I've thought about this a lot. I had an answer for you, and I think it's always fun to talk about wrestling in interviews because it's a passion of mine.
Yeah. What about the entrance theme? You have a lot of songs to choose from. 11
Yeah,
albums.
difficult. I think it would be what Last Man Standing would be close. I think because it's such it's a catchy one that goes along really well. But or Hammer High would actually be almost perfect for that part. Yeah, Hammer High might be the best one actually.
Yeah. Moving on to other geeky things, you have written Game of Thrones inspired song in the past, even before the TV show was aired. I don't know if you watched the TV series, and what do you think about the finale?
I did watch it for the longest time. I didn't want to watch because I'm reading the books, and that's how I discovered the Game of Thrones or the Song of Ice and Fire. So I wanted to wait for the books. I didn't want to get any impressions from what the television producers thought that the story should go, where the story should go. But I couldn't hold out any longer, so I rewatched. I mean, I watched the last 3 seasons in just after the final season was done. I watched the last 3 seasons, and I mean I like the show very much. I think it was a great show, but the books have so much more meat on them and so many more layers that you can't get through in the through the television screen. This is how why I read a lot of books, is because that's the only way you can get that experience. The full immerse to be fully immersed in something like a book. You can't compare that to a movie. A movie can be as great as you want, and it still will never be as good as a book. When it comes to the final, or what they did with the story, the final season felt very rushed to me. It felt like they had to tie things together. It was good, and it was great actually. I enjoyed the hell out of it, but the further away you got from the books, the less impressed I was, shall we say, or the less enthusiastic, is a better word, I was about it, because it felt like they were rushing into something and just had to finish it off, and then here we go. Now the question everybody's been waiting for: who's sitting on the Iron Throne at the end of the series? But having said that, I did like it. I did like it very much.
Yeah. Going back to HammerFall, I'm originally from Chile. You visited our country in 7 occasions, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
and
many
shared
times.
the stage with bands like Arch Enemy, Creator, Ed Guy. You've also played like your own as the only main act. And what kind of memories do you have from the Chilean audience?
Mostly insane. I mean, the audiences in South America and Chile is certainly no exception from that. They are always unbelievable. When you come there, you get blown away. It's always the same. Even if we've been here many times, you still aren't really prepared for how it goes. It's always such a pleasure to play live in Chile. And then the one thing I remember the most is when this probably was on the first time we went there. Yeah, it was it's 1999 on the Legacy of Kings tour, and we have a song called "Stronger Than All," and that song, the riff has sort of a melody in it. I never realized you could sing it, but people in the audience were singing that riff the whole night, and I was just blown away. I will never forget that. I mean, that thing has happened several times since then, but that was the first time I ever experienced it, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah, we're very loud, and I'm very embarrassed
Yeah.
here when I go to gigs and I'm the only one shouting, and I look around and everyone's just watching like they were seeing a film or something.
Well, that's good. You shouldn't be embarrassed about that. Not for living out your passion. That's nothing to be embarrassed about, especially not because on stage, like seeing that passion, anybody on stage will always appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, I think I have most of my questions covered now. And to end the interview, would you like to send a message to your fans around the world?
Watch out for Dominion, August 16th. I think, like I said before, I think this is it's going to go down as one of the HammerFall masterpieces. That's the way I feel right now, and I don't see that changing. Then if it actually does that or not, that's up for everybody else to decide. But everybody in the band are super, super excited about the release and really, really proud of what we accomplished. So hopefully people will see that. But we'll see. We'll find out on the tours after August 16th. And even if you don't like the album, you should come see us live because it's a whole different experience now. I can strongly recommend it. We're having fun. The audience is having fun. It's one big heavy metal party every night.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Oscar. And actually, I will see you next week in Wacken. I'm coming there.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry about the delay or the mishap.
No, no problem. I'm on a holiday, so
I'm glad we got it.
I was just a bit worried because Silke said that I should call you on time, so I was like, no. Hopefully, he didn't get offended by me not being 2 minutes.
I'm glad you didn't have any other things, and so we could do it in time anyway.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much, and have a nice week.
All right. Yeah, have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Right, take care, man. Bye bye.